Tonight, I have the great pleasure of introducing you to artist Emma Speelman. She is known for capturing the subtle beauty of nature in her intricate, vibrant botanical illustrations. And I believe she is one of the first botanical artists we have had. Her journey into watercolor began in 2021 in the remote town of Tom Price, Western Australia, with a set of paints gifted to her by her husband, which sparked an unexpected passion for this medium. Growing up among the wildflowers, the forests, and mountainous landscapes of Colorado, Emma was always drawn to the natural world, and her early years were spent exploring as many artistic mediums as she could get her hands on. But it was in watercolor that she found her true voice, a medium that let her highlight the unique textures and striking details of plants and flowers that might otherwise go unnoticed. Emma's signature technique uses minimal water to capture crisp details and intense colors. This has become central to her style, which evokes the timeless elegance of traditional botanical illustration with a modern, accessible touch. Her art draws inspiration from her surroundings, whether it's rugged landscapes of the Australian outback, the lush beauty of Colorado's mountain wildflowers, or the calming coastal scenery of her current home in California. Through her work, Emma invites her viewers to slow down, find peace, and connect with nature in a new way. This past December, Emma's work was featured in British Vogue's gallery, with additional features in January and February issues. This marked an exciting milestone in her career. Her art has garnered appreciation from an international audience of collectors and nature enthusiasts, each piece celebrating the resilience and elegance of the natural world, inviting a moment of reflection and calm in today's fast-paced world. Now, I'd like to bring Emma on the screen. And Emma, I would invite you to go ahead and show us some of your paintings that you have done. Share with us what you're doing, why you're doing what you do. Just share with us. We're very excited. Like I said, and I know in the past 6 years, we've not had a botanical artist. And some of the things that you are doing are, every time I think that I understand watercolor, every time I think I have learned so much about it, and I've really got a lot under my belt, and I'm feeling really good, I meet somebody like you that shows me that I know nothing, right?
Oh,
And that there's always somebody out there doing watercolor in a different way.
hmm.
Okay. And it's so exciting to me. I mean, I can't get over it. I love it. That is why I am so passionate about watercolor. It's just one of those, it's just a way of doing your art. And there's so many ways of doing it.
Oh, it's even just sitting in the salon and watching all of the beautiful artworks. I was like, okay, I'm not going to show any landscapes I worked on. Oh my gosh, it's
No,
amazing.
no, no.
It is an honor to be here, and I can start. It's interesting when you were saying that I started in Tom Price. I actually have my original watercolor kit that my husband gifted me. It was from it's called Office Works, so it's like
Okay.
the Australian version of Office Max. And when I look at these now, I'm surprised I did any art with them, to be honest. But so some pieces that I'll show you that I have done recently. One of them, let me grab them so I can have them in my lap. One of my favorites, it's inspired by Van Gogh. I was on a walk. Most of my pieces come from walks that I take around my neighborhood. I painted this wild iris, so it's this beautiful purple iris. Most of my walks, unfortunately, are taken in like the peak sunlight, so that's why there's such dramatic shadows on it, and the blue comes through there. This
What
one
size is that, Emma? That's beautiful.
This, I have it, I drew it in an 8 by 10, but the sheet is closer to like 9 by, I'd say like 10 and or like 8 by 11 maybe.
I was gonna say it looks big on the screen.
Yeah, no, it's a little 8 by 10. I started getting
Okay.
tired of doing custom framing. So
Alrighty.
Next one was my wedding bouquet. So what actually got me really into florals and botanicals was my wedding. I was in the process of planning and was really inspired by the florist we decided to go with. She had this one beautiful, I wish I still had the painting, but it's somewhere. It must have been lost in the move from Australia to California. But I painted a rose that I saw on her Instagram, and that just took me away with botanicals. I swooned and was able to paint my own bridal bouquet. And I've
Wow.
now painted bouquets from all over the world for brides who, after they get married, I just use a photo. I always work from photo references. So I'm able to paint different bouquets. And it's amazing just like the different personalities that come through each bouquet. Mine, I would not actually say is very representative of my personality. I eloped and it was a great bouquet, but I'm jealous of some of the brides that I have painted for. Um,
Okay.
Other ones, I have a pet portrait that I recently did. This is a print. She has the original, but so I also like offer prints myself at home, but this is a lab, obviously. I love painting pet portraits. So I do bridal bouquets and pet portraits, and all are offered through my website. And it's just really nice to be able to just connect and have little animals be like memorialized this way.
I think it's great that you've gone from botanical painting to painting pets. It's totally different,
What's
you know.
interesting is I started with pets actually, and I have
Oh,
my
okay.
cats hanging, but it was in oils. I started with pets they're in my hallway. And I then when I switched to watercolor, I didn't even dabble in pets at first. That was a slow one, but I started originally, yeah, with more pets, which is interesting, and have found my way back with them.
So you're doing your pets in the watercolor now, right?
Yes, yep, that's
Yeah,
watercolor. Yeah, so that
that's
has
what I thought.
been for like the past year or so, I've been doing more pet portraits.
Fantastic. Okay.
Then my most like one of my favorite ones, when I moved to California to Long Beach, I did this series where once a day I took a walk around my neighborhood and found each of these flowers in like and gave myself an hour to paint each one. So I was inspired by the those like vintage botanical posters. So at the bottom I wrote the names in pencil, but what I've done is I've then turned it into more of like a print like this where I wrote Long Beach and added the scientific and common names at the bottom. And so this is one of my best sellers. It definitely gets the Long Beach community fired
Well, let
up.
me ask you,
Yeah,
after coming out of the outback
yeah,
in Australia,
yeah.
I'm sure that when you came to California and you saw all these beautiful flowers, I'm sure you were just thrilled.
It was amazing because it's year round. I'm used to flowers from Colorado, where I'm originally from. I'm used to them being there one season, like, and then they pass and it snows. Here is like every season there's different flowers, and now I'm like, hey, I painted from that bush. I've done this. Like, I know I'm very tuned in, and it's cool. It's a nice way when people see this, and I have the conversations with them at like pop-up markets that I do. It's really nice because this is a very easy conversation starter where they recognize these flowers, so it's a little less, I think, intimidating to
Hmm.
approach, which is nice.
Absolutely. That's just beautiful work.
Thanks. I love that one.
Very
I
pretty.
have a couple more.
Okay.
Um, This is from my Colorado series. So I went in the autumn, which is like my favorite time of year, and these leaves were all found in the same day. So it was an entire like range of a season from start to basically finish of autumn that I took, and I took each photo. And then when I got back to California, I got to sit down and spend some time with each of these leaves. And it just feels really special. I'm very proud to be from Colorado. So this was very fun, very
It
gratifying.
it looks like the same leaf.
It is. It's an
Um,
aspen leaf.
I
Yes.
was going to ask you from an aspen tree. Yep. Very
Yes.
good. Yep.
Yes. Exactly. I'm
Their
sorry.
leaves, there's change. They're so beautiful, so many colors.
Oh, I know. And when they're all yellow, drive because we drive in, me and my husband, and it's just like you cannot believe it. It never gets old, ever.
It's gold and it's magical when you see that. I saw a mountainside like that where it
Yeah.
was all the golden trees on one whole side and it was
Yeah.
just, oh my goodness, it was beautiful.
It's amazing. It's
Yep.
amazing. Um, okay. And then this was one of my most recent ones that I was very proud of. It's a wisteria bloom, I guess. I was walking to my local coffee shop on Cherry Avenue, which is what I've called this piece. And this wisteria was just blooming. And I've wanted to paint it for a while, but I finally felt like all the stars aligned. I had enough skills under my like tool belt. I was like, I can do this. I know how to approach this now. And I wish the colors were coming up a little bit better, but it's just such a delicate purple with there's some fuchsias in there, and it was just I didn't want to stop painting this one, to be honest. When I did the last bud, it was like, oh, okay, now what? So
We have the wisteria that blooms here. And when it goes away, it's like, oh no, I didn't get time to get out and paint it. It's beautiful.
it's fast. They go away
Yeah,
so fast. I had no
it,
idea.
it's so fast, but I was very pleased. I walked around the neighborhood and the other day the wisteria was coming into a second bloom, which
Oh,
I've never seen that before. And I thought, oh, I'm loving this.
oh,
Right?
how nice. That's
Yeah, it was
amazing.
great. Yep,
Uh,
very nice.
And then my last piece, the one that I finished most recently, obviously I've done florals mostly, and this is still in the botanical realm, but I did this artichoke that I found at my farmer's market.
Yep.
And this was another piece where I did not want to stop painting it. I loved every element. I loved that this yellow played against the purplies and the sage colors, and it just added such an amazing touch. And I like that it looks a little charred on the edges. I like imperfect things when I'm painting. I think it adds a lot of personality. And
Well,
this,
it's real. It's real. The leaves dry up,
yeah.
So yeah.
And I didn't realize that they bloomed and turned into little purple fluffies at the top. So that
Oh,
was a
I'm
you
glad you pointed that out. I didn't even notice that. You're right.
Yeah, and you can't eat them when you get to when they get here. That means they're way past their prime. So unfortunately, these guys are just for the vibe at that point.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say when Eileen and I were talking to you the other day, didn't you say that you kind of got to a point where you started painting some vegetables?
Yeah, so I have the artichoke, I have carrots that I've done as well. Those are in my kitchen hanging.
Yep. Yep.
And I did some figs, a little like container of figs overlooking at the top that had
Okay.
one open. Yeah, so I branched out not too far. I didn't branch that far, but
I love it though because we're watching what you're doing and I'm thinking, okay, where will she go next? You know,
yeah, your guess is as good as mine. We'll
there you
see.
go.
Yeah, just waiting for the next inspiration. That's my favorite, just walking around and seeing what hit. I have an idea in my brain, but we'll see. Trying to be inspired by autumn and all the things that are changing, and I'm having
Mhm.
fun every day.
Did I hear you say that you have started doing your own frames? Did I hear you say that?
I have a local framer that I work with if I
Okay.
need to do custom sizes, but for the most part, I mainly decide I've chosen to paint my things in standard frame sizes. So like 8 by 10 or 11 by 14. So if I wanted to frame it to be able to share at markets or sell, I feel like it's a lot easier to like sell it that way and not force people to get a custom frame or myself if I want to share it in a gallery or anything. I had this one behind me actually. I had the biggest headache with. It was accepted into a Rhode Island gallery for a show last year, and the turnaround time to get it custom framed because it's a weird size. I don't even it was an Australian watercolor pad, so it's like A4, A3. It's a headache. But
Yeah,
after that, I was like, I need to make this easier for myself and started doing like regular frame sizes.
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know you've got a wonderful demonstration to show us. You're
Yes.
painting. I'll let you lead. You tell us what you're going to do. And then we will
Okay,
ask
let me
questions. We'll ask questions as we
please
go along.
do. Please
What's that?
do. Ooh, let
Yep.
me mute. Is that better?
Okay, well we'll get your other screen on here in just a minute. Liz, I don't know, one of you all put the Emma's other screen up so we can see that. And we'll go ahead and what I'll do is I'll be watching the chat room and
Great.
I will do what we need to do there.
Okay,
I will ask you questions from the audience as we go, okay?
fantastic.
And
That sounds great.
I
Okay.
love your colors. I'm like in love with the colors. But
Oh, thanks. I'm a color
explain
girl.
Yeah, explain what you do, your brushes, your paint, and all that, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so we'll go through all of my materials to start. I
Okay.
am an Arches watercolor girl till the day I die. Cold press specifically. I know with a lot of botanicals, people immediately go to hot pressed because it's smooth. I don't love it because I like a little bit of that grit. I like that texture for me. I'm
Yep.
not going for complete photorealism. I want it to be realistic. I am always painting what I see, so it's hard for me to not make it look realistic. But Arches cold pressed, 140 pounds. This is my newest block. It's an 8 by 10. Before I was using like a 9 by 12 and using a ruler to get it down to this size, but this is new and it's amazing. It's so much easier. My watercolors are all hard pans, besides like a few ones that I supplement in, which I'll talk about. But this is my 48 half pan by Schminke. I recently upgraded to this maybe like half a year ago. From like I was using a really inexpensive one called Mungyo. It's a Korean brand that was where I started learning from after I upgraded from this. But this is wonderful for me because I really like to have control in my painting. Like what was mentioned is I don't love a lot of water. If I do use water, it'll be on like my base layers to do the first wash of color. And then I'm really just using the dampness of my brush. And I kind of like when they get crusty and dry on the sides, so I can really control my application that way. So this is that 48 half pan. I made a little color chart, makes it way easier for me to just know exactly the undertone I'm looking for and mixing it around. And then I use a couple tubes, like I was saying, to supplement the colors that I don't have. In this one, I will potentially be using this Daniel Smith olive green. That's a TBD, to be determined. I'm not sure if I will yet, but I love that color, so I like to keep it around. This Holbein sap green is one of my favorite greens to start with for like stem colors. And then I will add other shades in to really neutralize things if I need to, if it's feeling too vibrant. And then one of my favorite colors is Opera Rose by also Holbein. So this palette already has a magenta in here, so you can see this here, but it's not very punchy. It is still, I'd say slightly dull. It's a great pink for what's necessary, but when I want something to really glow, like you'll see really close to what's going to be the center bulb, when I want something to glow, I'll add the lightest bit of Opera Rose, and it's one of my favorites. So those are all of my colors. And then I'm pretty loyal as well to these Da Vinci Colineo brushes. So this is the kit that comes in a little 5 pack. I think these are actually for like miniatures, people when they paint miniatures. But we have a 5.0, 3.0, 0, 1, and 2. These are the sizes because I really like to get in there with detail and kind of scrub around. I believe these are sable as well, and they're just round. And I've actually bought 2 packs of these now because I just can't get enough. And I have a few extras over here. So a size, another 2, I believe. I brought out another 2, and then you can get single ones, and this is a size 4. So Da Vinci Colineos are my go-to. And then this is my mop brush that I will use only on, excuse me, my like base layer. So if I'm doing like my wet on wet technique, this will be my clean water brush. It's a size 10. Her name is Cindy Lane. She's an Australian artist. And I really liked her style and I thought she was cool. And I saw she was selling brushes and I bought it and I really like it, but I'm not sure if you can get it in the States is the only thing. And then lastly, I always need a little booklet on the side that I do my like swatch chart in. So if I'm just making sure my undertones are correct, they go here. It's this really inexpensive watercolor book. It comes in a pack of 2. It says it's heavyweight and acid free. It's terrible paper. I would not recommend using it for anything but scrap paper. It was a Hanukkah present, so I make use of it and it
Okay.
it gets the job done. But now I can show you, I'll show you my reference photo. I always work off of my iPad here. So this is a stock photo of the Black-Eyed Susan, which I believe is the Maryland state flower, which is why I chose this today, also known as the coneflower. It's hard to pick up in here, but there's some gorgeous like lemon yellows, mustard yellows, and they go into this really beautiful red, orange, and they're vibrant. And I just thought it was such a nice flower, and I loved the angles of the petals in the back. So that is what I will be painting today. You can see the start already. And I think I will get going.
Great. Tell us how you got started on the outer petals, Emma.
On these ones,
Yep.
so I was going to show how I do that. So I'm going to start with a
Okay.
really simple base layer wash. So you'll see I have a couple of layers or steps going in. These ones are pretty complete. Then these are my first washes done, which is what I'm going to do here. And then I'll show how I build up this dimension, really. So
Alrighty.
make sure you can see my water. So I'm just going to take my water. I'm not worried about these being dry. I mixed these earlier and I actually wrote down what these mixes are. So before I get ahead of myself, I'm going to tell you about those. So this top left color here, which is like my medium or my medium yellow. So is cadmium yellow light. So this one and Indian yellow here. So that just made a little mustardy mix. Then I have alone just lemon yellow for these really vibrant petals over here that are in direct sunlight. So those ones are glowing. So I'm just going to go in with lemon yellow. This bottom left is cadmium yellow light and lemon yellow. So that's if I need a little bit of an in-between of these two, I'll dabble in there. And this bottom right will be for when I'm going to place in the wet on wet is going to be cadmium yellow light, Indian yellow, transparent orange, and cad red light. So it made this really nice reddy orange mixture. And then up here I have cad red light and cad yellow light. So that is for the closest area to the bulb. And again, this is my 48 half pan Schminke set. They have them in smaller kits as well. I just say the more colors, the better. Bring me color. I love it. I mix more from it, but I like to have already a starting point. So I'm going to start in this center petal and just start going down with my wet, clean water to get started. So you can see me moving in the camera maybe. I'm leaning back to use the light that I have above me to just make sure I have an even application of water. And I treat each petal individually. They're their own painting. I'm not doing it as a full one-off. It's just petal by petal. Now I'm picking up my size 4, so my largest size, making sure it's clean, and I'm going to pick up my medium yellow, which was cad yellow light and lemon yellow. And I'm just going to quickly place that in. So the water underneath isn't puddling. It's not going to like blend and bleed. Like I said, I'm not really one to have my watercolors make choices for me. I want to be completely in control. So we'll place that in, and this petal curves downward. So the bottom edge will get to be to that darker mustard color. So I'll pick that up and lightly bleed it into the yellow above. Dab off the brush and just sweep it together for like a nice seamless blend. At the top, we'll add a little bit of that mustard as well. Tap it off. Make sure the brush isn't too wet because I don't want to have any blooms or anything like that. And it goes into that nice vibrant orange. So I'll pick that up and tap it in like that. And again, lightly tap that off and just blend it down. So my base layers are really simple. There's not a lot to it. I just want to keep the vibrancy and try to get as close to the reference photo as I can. One thing I notice about these petals is they have a lot of little like folds in them. So when I'm thinking of my watercolors, I'm really breaking it down layer by layer as if I could take maybe like a film layer off of the top. So the bottom layer, the lightest, vibrant sunshine yellow is what I'm starting with. And I'll add the mustards, add the oranges on top into these second layers. So they have that little bit of dimension coming through. To move on to this second petal, it's going to be the same thing where I'll get that wet. And again, we're just going to take it. It's not as wet as I want it to be. I also have air conditioning on because in California, it's still pretty warm out here. So just trying to be mindful of the air and how it's moving through my house. Okay. And I can see that that is evenly saturated. And I'll place that down. And this is where the light is coming directly on it. So I'm going to go into that really lemony yellow to really keep that vibrancy going. And that's going to go just all over. Okay. Same thing where it curves down and turns into like the more mustard. So I'm already starting that dimension in this layer. Like that. And I do apologize. It sounds like a construction worker just started. So I'm sorry if you can hear that. Hopefully he will be done soon.
Yeah, we're not hearing anything in the background, Emma.
Okay, good, good. I was like,
Yeah.
he is really working hard out there.
When you pick your paintbrush up again, when
Yes.
you're done with it,
Yes.
someone has asked, they said they heard you say Da Vinci brushes,
Yes.
but what was the series name?
Colineo. So co-line O.
Okay.
Colineo. And it's the 5 pack I love. It starts with a small 50, 30, 0, 1, and 2.
Okay. And then someone was also interested in your drawing. Did you draw that freehand?
I did not. So I am a big fan of the grid method. I use little tick marks to mark out the inches on my paper. And then I have a grid that I use on my iPad. And that makes it just easier for me. I know it might be cheating. That's debated. I just think if my drawing is solid, then I can just focus on the painting. I've done freehand ones, but for the most part, if I want it to be accurate and close to what I'm referencing, then I'll just do a grid method kind of.
Hey, there's no judgment here, Emma.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a safe space. It's a safe space.
That's right. It is a safe space, no judgment.
Amazing. Okay, so I use the side of my hand to test the dampness of the paper because I feel like it's a lot more sensitive than like if I went in just with like my fingertip. So the iPad Grid app is literally just called Drawing Grid.
Drawing grid.
Yep,
Okay,
it's like a hand, it's a black and white, and it looks like a hand holding a pencil in the app photo.
great. Okay.
Yeah.
We,
So,
we we want all the help we can get here.
oh, it makes it so easy. You can change the sizes of the squares if you want 2 inches, like you just put in all of your dimensions really that you want. It's the easiest app, and I recommend it to most people.
That's great. No, that's great.
Yeah. So this one is still slightly damp. So I'm going to wait a second to start this, but I'll start going now and building up on my dry petals that I did recently, or the
Mhm.
day before. I'll start turning them into more rendered paintings, I guess.
Okay.
So I will pick up, I'm feeling like I want the 0 near me and the 1. That's what else I need. I also always keep just a paper towel really in my like a small little square in my left hand because I like to tap out as I go, and it just is easy if it's already hanging out in this hand. So let's see how I will start this one. So I can see that this petal is falling really beautifully underneath this one. So I want to start with that shadow and we can go from there. I kind of just do whatever my heart is saying, and that's what it wants to do. So I will keep this pan, like I said, pretty dry and just have my brush be damp to scrub out the pigment that I want. I really don't want it to be too reactivated. And I'm just going to directly place it down where I want it and then scrub as I go. So we live in this area. So I have a really concentrated amount of pigment right there. Clean off my brush, and I just use the dampness to buff it down. It keeps it very controlled and nice and smooth. Okay, perfect. Then I can see, I don't want to get too close to that right now because it's still wet. So I'm going to start building up the other edge, which is in shadow and it's a mustardy shade. So I'm picking up that mustard and I'll go and place it down where I see it most concentrated. Same step. So I'll place it down, tap off my brush, and I'm going to lightly buff and blend it up into the rest of the petal. So it's a lot of scrubbing, but I'm always making sure to keep the scrubbing motion in the same direction as the petal. So I'm not going to scrub side to side. It'll always be with the length and with the motion of what I'm seeing in that petal. So, and since I don't use that much water, it doesn't take that long to dry. One thing that I can already see is that these shadows are getting a little bit more muted. So they're not as vibrant of a yellow. It's not pure, like one color. So what I love to do is always bring a little bit of brown into my yellows. So I'll take burnt umber for this one, and I'll place it in the corner and just lightly mix together a little shadow. I'm not going to make too much because I'm not 100% confident. And you'll see I'm mixing it over here, looking back at my reference photo, and that feels good. So I'm using just that little mixture I just made. I can always make it again. And I'm just going to make the first curve in this painting. So we're just following the reference photo. Taking a clean brush, and the shadow looks like it goes to the right or to the top. So I'm only buffing out on this top edge. And when it tapers out, it becomes very light and transparent, but I still want like the essence of that fold. So I'm going to just quickly put in just like very light yellow, so almost like a little ombre. Place that down and buff that color out. That petal is also way too light, so I will be going in with a glaze after I get these initial elements put down. And that is just going to be with that very gorgeous lemon yellow. But I want to just make sure I feel happy and content with the um, details that I'm putting in right now. So let's just build this up a little darker. I might even take some sepia brown, so a little bit more cool toned brown, and just kind of muddy it up. I think obviously there's beautiful colors and vibrancy in nature, but there's also a lot of like muddiness and it's a little dirty. So it's not always one paint pan and done. It's a gorgeous mix that's always like evolving and changing. So we'll go a little brown there. So I'm keeping it really defined and just lightly, lightly buffing. So since that area was still slightly damp, it's easy to move it around. And if I feel like it got a little too dark, that's this paper towel. I'll tap it out. And I call it like I'm leaving like a ghost of the color because it's like, it's there, but is it there? So we can all see that changing. Um,
Emma, can you do me a favor and show us your reference photo off and on while you're doing this. I've got people asking if you could do that.
Yes.
And
Yep.
then maybe at the end of this, at the end of the meeting, maybe you could send us a copy of that.
Yeah. Of
Yep.
course. Yeah. So right now, let me see if I turn down my brightness, if that'll help show it on the camera.
Yep, we can
Slightly.
see that. Great. Yep.
So you can see I started with the orange, which is here, the orange underneath that petal. And then it goes to this nice little crease right here that I'm working on right now.
Mhm.
And this is a fairly simple petal because it just has that one crease and really one color. So at this point now, I'm just going to do a glaze of lemon yellow over the top.
Okay.
So I'll put this back and then I'll bring it out when I go move on to the next one.
One of our members has mentioned that Android also has a grid app on it that you can
Nice.
use, and Samsung has it.
Oh, good. Okay, good. I didn't even.
So that's good.
Perfect. So that one's dry enough because I'm not using that much water, like I said. So now I'm going to just do a glaze of that lemon yellow, and that's going to make all three of these elements really just look like one cohesive piece. So the glaze is a very light wash. I keep tapping back into the water because I want to have enough water and paint on my brush to just glaze over the top, but not really cover too much of my work. Just make everything look harmonious and cohesive. And that is that petal. That one was very simple, so I started definitely with an easy one. And while these now, I'm going to finish up this one so then I can really just focus on building up the details. This petal is a very interesting one. So this is where I was talking about that it has that really defined glow underneath, and then it has those mustardy orange layers on top. So what I'm looking at and what I'm thinking about when I'm painting this is just what's at the bottom. What is the core of that petal? So that is a really pigmented, vibrant yellow. And then I will tap in a little bit of orange, but for the most part, I'm just doing that yellow because I want that to be able to glow through when I do my second and third layers. So, so that's going to be that same technique. My water is tinted slightly yellow. I'm not worried about it because obviously this petal is going to be yellow, so I'm not worried about the tint changing my paper at all. And I'm being very like conscious of where I'm placing this water because if you noticed in all of the painting examples I showed you, I don't do backgrounds. I really just focus on the subject matter. And so I really just want to make sure that my water is contained in the lines that I'm working on. And that is looking nice and evenly saturated. Back to the size 2, picking up that lemon, and I'll tap into a little bit of that cad yellow light and place her in. I want it even more vibrant. I want that glow to really come through. So I'm just following those brush strokes. I'm not thinking about the orange really on top yet. The only thing I might do is I will place the orange on the edges, but I'm not going to add any on this wash in the center yet. So that goes down to the tip that becomes a little bit more mustard yellow at the bottom. And we'll lightly drag it up and then into the gorgeous orange at the top. And that lives behind that one. So I'm going to build up that shadow work. So we're just keeping it really concentrated and controlled in that area. The sides of this petal go pretty mustard, if you can see right there. So I want to really make sure I'll take some of that Indian yellow again, and maybe some of that brown. I'll lightly, and I'm going to just quickly place that in. So I wanted it a little bit more like a whole grain mustard color, I guess. I don't eat a lot of mustard, but That will just go on those edges. It's still a little bit damp. It's not soaking wet by any means, but we're already going to start defining those petals and those folds. And it looks like it goes nice and orange over here. So I'm just looking back and forth at my reference photo and keeping it very controlled. Clean off my brush, dry it off slightly, and just buff it in. Okay, so those are all of the base layers done. You can see obviously that we know watercolor, it dries so much lighter than we initially placed down. So that's what's going on here, and we'll just keep building up the luminosity. So this one will probably even get a second glaze just to really pick that up. But I'll now move on to this petal, which has a little bit more dimension than the one that I was showing at first. So you can see there we have two of those folds going next to each other. So I'm going to take the concentrated pigment and place one at a time, work on one at a time, but I'm going to put that down and then scrub as I go. And I'll show you that in the process. But you can see I'm thinking of this as an ombre. So this line starts a lot darker and then it fades into this almost invisible area, but you can still see the suggestion back down into that darkness. So that's what I'm planning in my head is going, just thinking of those colors that will be needed to create that line. Okay, here comes my cat. You can stay away. So I'm picking up a size 0. And this color, let me make sure I'm working on that petal. Okay, is going to be that browny yellow. So I'll take Indian yellow and burnt umber and make sure I'm still happy with that color. Yeah. So one thing I also like to do is when you squint your eyes, things get really blurry, right? So I like to be able to look at my reference photo blurred and then look back at my painting. So I'm looking at everything blurry. So it breaks down into just colors and shapes rather than like intense detail. So I'm just making sure that this color is reminiscent enough of that color that I'm seeing in a blurry sense. And I hope that made sense. So I'm going to start with the one closest to me, and I will start building up that fold. So I'm placing down concentrated pigment into that more like invisible color that lives here. So it's just yellow. Put them together, and then I'll add onto the bottom soon because I don't want this to dry out too quickly. So clean off my brush, and I'm buffing it out. So I'm using the color or the paper really as my area to play rather than doing it too much and relying on water. The paper is helping me move things around. And then that goes down into a more mustard right at the tip of that flower petal. Down here. So following that natural curve that we see is being developed right there. And we're just connecting it through. And buffing. Like that. And we're going to do the same thing with the second one. I want to make sure that that's dry enough so I have play time. And that one will be that same brownie yellow. And I will place that down where I see it. And they meet at like a nice little point right towards the front.
Emma, I've got one of our members asking, do you wet your paint palette at all? Or
No,
do you just keep them dry to afford the control you want?
dry to afford the control. I have tried spraying, and when I was first starting, I was following a bunch of tutorials on YouTube and really thought that that would help. But I leave everything dry, so it's all control, all done by me. So the air conditioning in my house actually helps me keep things dry as well.
All right.
So we're just buffing it down to the rest of this petal where it becomes really nice and vibrant and glowy. So I'm taking that lemon yellow and washing that over this area. Oop, sorry, my cat just jumped onto my table. And you can kind of hear the scrubbing. And I'm just going to keep building up this nice three-dimensional elements by looking at the reference photo and considering where the shadows are and where they'd actually live in real time. So it curves down and isn't being hit by the sunlight anymore. Now, this closer one fades out a bit closer to this second line. So I'm taking the regular mustard yellow that I mixed, none of the brown in it, and I'm going to overlay on top of that line, leaving a little bit of underpainting visible. So it keeps that glow going. You'll notice I don't really leave a lot of white paper. Most of my paintings are all paint. Even if I'm painting a white flower, it's all paint. I'll mix all of the colors I can to create that. But I've never been one to really leave the paper besides the background. That stays open.
All right. We've got a member asking,
Hmm.
is all that scrubbing hard on your brushes?
I haven't noticed too much wear and tear. Like on the tiny ones, slightly you'll see some fraying. It's hard to see.
Okay.
But barely. I'm not scrubbing crazy hard. It's just moving back and forth. But not that I've really noticed it causing an issue in my paintings, to be honest.
Okay. Oh, and somebody's asking, do you ever do backgrounds on your work? I mean, I love them on the white, but
Yes.
have you tried doing backgrounds yet?
I've tried and my anxiety doesn't handle it well. I
Okay.
feel like I've tried it with, I can actually show you. I have some of my paintings next to me where
Okay.
I've done some backgrounds.
All
Uh,
right.
Let me move these to the side.
So were you happy with your end result or were you just too anxious trying to do it?
Oh, I was okay with it. It wasn't my favorite. Like I was like, meh, it was fine. Um,
Okay.
but where can I put this big boy? So this is, I can actually lay it down. So this is like a bubble vase that I did. So this glass vase.
Okay.
And the background was in my sister's kitchen. Since I'm painting from reference photos, if it's not there, actually, an interesting thing, I can't picture things in my mind. So I'm working always from reference photos. So that I kind of had to like make up this blue wash. And it is what it is how I feel. I'm never like, I don't feel like for me, it's my favorite thing. I kind of wish that it would have been standalone. It's fine.
Okay.
It is what it is, but I also didn't want to paint a kitchen in the back.
It appears to really blend well though with your bubble vase. I mean, it's not, it
Yeah.
looks fine with it.
Thank you. It was okay. I think just more my style. I'm just happier with the focus staying on the flowers.
Yeah, when you've got that white background, your flowers just stand out so much.
Yeah, they're definitely they keep their vibrancy. It helps, I think, maintain that a little bit.
Sure.
Um, okay, where was I? This petal. Yeah, so I'm gonna keep building up those curves so it can keep being dimensional. So it curves down, so I'm gonna add some shadow in this bottom area, and it's tinting a little orange. So I added Indian yellow onto the side here to that orange mix. And I'm gonna start again like I always do, place down concentrated pigment exactly where I want it. And here I'll go into my mustard, the straight up yellow, and blur it out. So kind of already starting a little bit of a glaze there and creating a little bit of a shadow. And while it's still wet, I can make it a little brown as well and just amplify that.
It's beautiful how you're getting the different values to just come right up at you. It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. This goes more yellow down here. So I'm doing little, yeah, little glaze areas. Sometimes I'll do it over the entire thing. Sometimes I don't know if it's technically still considered a glaze at that point. I didn't have formal training with painting. I went to school for business actually. So please, please forgive my terminology. And if you know the answers and what things are called, I would love to hear. Um,
Like I say, I would call out something, and I know it's probably got three other names. So,
exactly. I'm like, you guys get the idea. We all
oh
paint.
yeah, I'm happy watching you paint and seeing your technique. Absolutely.
Oh, awesome. Something that's what I'm about to do. So, like I was saying, I love using opera rose. So,
Mhm.
the closer to the bulb of this flower, it gets really vibrant in there. So, I'm going to take a little bit of my orange mixture and I'll take a little bit of my dried down opera that's over here and I'll place them side by side and mix them. And it creates this really nice, like peachy color. It becomes a lot more vibrant. It's hard, it's not picking up too well here, but it has more of a glow to it. So that's something that I really love about Opera Rose is it makes things look like they're glowing. So I'm going to take that and place that really close to the little bulb area where it connects and just blur that down, clean off my brush and buff it into the rest of that area. So then it just makes it look like it's going to be, and when it's with this, when I paint this, it'll really look like it's grounded in there. Um, we'll do a little more of this detailing over here. Clean that off. So I'm just connecting those two lines. And I don't want it to be too intense. So I feel like that already is maybe a little too dark. So I'm going to take, since it's still damp, clean it off a little bit and tap it off and leave the ghost, like I said. So that is for the most part that pile done. I'll come back in and deepen up those lines a little closer when they're drier. But we'll move on to this petal that has the most interesting, I'd say, changes where you can see the overlay of this orange down to mustard, big gap of yellow, orange to mustard, yellow, same thing here. So I really like that stripiness. And this is where I'll be using that technique where I'm kind of blurring my eyes to see how dark it needs to be compared to the rest of the petals, because I want those values to stay accurate. So these three will kind of be building at the same time. So I'm going to start on the outer edge with my mustard, my brown mix, my mustard brown. Let's make sure we're still happy with that. I want it a little darker, so I'm going to make some more. So I'll take that Indian yellow and burnt umber. I use brown actually a lot to tint my things for nature. So like my greens will always have some brown in them. Usually more of like a reddish brown because I like the complementary to neutralize things. Um, and that makes things just like a nice natural looking shadow. So right now I'm just making sure that I have the colors that I want mixed up. And I want a little bit of this brown with this orange to mute that down a little bit. And we'll be ready to go. So I'm taking that mustard and I'm going to paint it out. So I'm just following the natural shape. I can already feel this brush is too tiny. I'm sure you're all watching thinking, that's too small. Going to my size 2 now, making sure that's clean. Picking up where I left off, take that mustard yellow and continuing on. And it blurs down closer to the middle, so I'll take that damp brush and buff it out, making sure to leave that gorgeous yellow in the middle, and I'll even amplify that with wash of color later. And then it goes into the orange. So while that is damp, we're going to continue that ombre going. And it is under the petal there, so it will be significantly darker in shadow. And connects to the center point. Clean that off and just soften that edge slightly with a damp brush. And its key word is damp. It is not wet by any means. I will do the exact same thing. Pick up the more slightly wet paint in the pan and start on the other side so they don't bleed into one. I want to keep them still separate. So it looks like it picks up to this nice mustard over on this edge. Taking just pure yellow to amplify that glow and keep it glowing and keep it moving into the brownish orange, which you can see already started in my underpainting here. Now I'm just going in and redistributing that color and just making that appear a little darker. So cleaning that off, softening that edge. Always following the shape of that petal. So I'm
Now,
not.
Emma, one of our members mentioned that the Schminke palette is
Yeah,
rather expensive,
it
but
is.
she's wondering if it will last a while. I would imagine that's going to
It,
depend on how much you're painting.
yeah, it lasts a very, very, gosh, it's been a long time. I can grab my other palette that I recommend that I started with. 2 seconds.
Okay.
Now my cat thinks it's dinner time, so. This is a second palette that I recommend. It's called Mungyo. So it's a Korean brand and it looks almost identical. So it's another 48 half pan, but so a lot more reasonably priced. Oh, I wonder what I was painting before. And it has like a vibrant range. So it's not a professional grade, but it is a really great starting palette for hard pans. I love this one.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
They'd like to know if you can buy replacement squares for the Schminke colors. I
Yes.
would think so. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely you can.
Yep. And
And they
then,
sell clear, like empty squares as well, if you wanted to put your own colors in and harden them up with like tubes.
sure, sure. Okay. And then a final question. Do you make many prints of your original work to sell?
I make prints of every single painting. So I have my own scanner. So I have like an Epson scanner that I scan in my office and remove any cat hair because there will always be cat hair on my paintings. And
Okay.
then I have a Canon Pro 1000 printer, and I use watercolor texture paper to print everything on. So I do all my prints in-house myself. Yes.
That's great. That's great that you do that. Yep.
It's so fun. They're all archival quality inks and papers. So the like any of like the vibrant colors that I'm using that in originals would fade if you put it in direct sunlight, the prints will last at that vibrancy for ever, forever.
And,
So it's been
and
really
you're totally in control of the process, which is wonderful.
completely. I color match everything. I make sure that it looks as accurate as I can. So it literally looks like you're getting an original painting. I at markets that I do, I have to explain to people that this isn't the original, which is very flattering. But I'm very proud. I'm very proud of the print quality that I've achieved for sure.
Okay. And I'm getting questions. They're coming.
I'm
Can you
happy.
can you spell the alternative palette name, please?
Yes. Mungyo. Mung Yo.
What was it? MU what?
Ngyo.
Okay.
Yep.
And then what water texture paper name do you recommend?
For prints,
Doesn't say. Just says what water texture paper name do you recommend?
if it is for my prints, I do Red River Paper Company is who I use, and it's an Palo Duro Etching 315. So it's like 315 pound paper, and it is great. What's nice about Red River Paper Company is they offer sample packs of paper. So you can get a ton, like if you don't necessarily want it to look like watercolor texture, they have so many. If you wanted to print photos, if you wanted to print just for a cheaper value, you can get like flat paper that's really accessible. But they're fantastic.
Okay, yeah, she was asking about, yes, for prints.
Perfect.
What?
Yeah. Palo Duro Etching 315 is what it is on their website.
Okay, and their questions are coming. Does Epson sell archival quality ink?
They come with the Pro 1000 and Pro 300 that I started with. Yes.
Okay, and is there a name for that ink? I think somebody's
It's,
asking,
I
and what
think
ink?
it came with it. I just looked up the ink that came with the Pro 300. So Canon ink, I think is what it's called.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
So right now I'm going to start defining quickly just this center vein a little bit more because on the edge it's darker. So I'm happy with that wash, but I want the lines to be a little bit more intense. So I'm going with a red, which I took Perylene Violet and Scarlet Red, and I'm just going to lightly buff that down and let the pigment really do the work for me until it turns into nothing. And now I do want the smaller brush. So that was the two. I want a one. So I'm moving on to my one to do the center vein. So I'm trying to be really mindful of keeping that internal yellow visible. I sometimes move too fast and that's not possible. So that's when I would implement scrubbing. But I'm going to really try my hardest to not do that today. So we'll go into that mustard and see, I'm already psyching myself out. Okay. We want to go right in between those colors. Mustard into that orange. That's that color. And making sure just to keep it separate. And then I'll quickly and lightly buff that out.
People are asking when you are buffing, how are you not activating the lower level?
I'm not, I think just the amount of water that I'm not using. So
Yep.
it's activating the one that I'm working on. And if it does activate the layer below, it's not enough that I'm noticing it. So it would just be adding more into the overall painting rather than disrupting it. So it's a very, very minimal amount of water that I'm moving around.
Okay. And then people are starting to get nervous because they know we have about 15 minutes left.
15.
It's yeah,
Okay.
eight now.
I will do the bulb.
They're all getting anxious about, can she do the center of the flower?
Yes, I'll do it.
Okay.
You guys get the gist? Sorry, I'm just having too much
That's
fun. I
funny.
appreciate it. Okay. So the rest of the petals will look like that. Okay.
Sure.
We'll
Sure.
it'll be on my Instagram when I'm done with it. So
That'll be great. And then if you could just shoot us a copy of it, a picture of it, that'd be wonderful.
of course I will. So let me just, while that's still wet, I'll continue. Okay. So what I'm going to do is same wet on wet with this. The bottom of this bulb, I can see it and I hope you can too. It glows really nice red down there. So I'm going to do a full wet on wet and just place in my colors. I'm not worried about the geometric lines in there. That's where I don't focus on photorealism. I'm
Okay.
more into just the gist at that point. I've done a sunflower and I let it go into a point where I'm like, that looks close enough. So what I need to do first, mix up my colors.
Okay.
Let's clean off this area. Oh, actually, that looks like, since I have some already going over here, I'm gonna go with what I have built up. So this looks like I'm using a manganese violet, magenta.
That looks like your artichoke paint.
It probably was from that, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna reuse what I have. I actually can guarantee that is what this was.
Okay.
So that's a nice undertone for this middle shade. I do want it to be slightly redder, so I'm gonna go into English Venetian red and just tint it slightly. And it looks a little bit more like brick color, so that is great. And then up here, I'll do my darkest brown. So that's going to be sepia brown. So sepia brown. And then to make it even darker, I like going in with a little tap of Payne's gray. And then this is called neutral tint. And I really like using neutral tint to make things a little bit darker. So then that will be my darkest brown. And I'm going to make sure this orange is good. So that is going to be scarlet red, and I'll just add it over into my orange for that glow. So that is my bulb. That is my bulb family. So I'm going to take, same thing, not worried about the water tinting it at all. And I'm going to just saturate that area. I'm not really worrying about those little points right now because that'll be more like little details. So we're just saturating. Make sure it's not puddling. I can see with my head a little bit of a puddle there. And then I'm just going to place in the red. I might even add a little bit more. So I'll just let her play around. So red goes in close to the bottom because we're having that underlight come through, the glow of those petals, and the undertones live over here. And then I'll start opposite side with my manganese violet in that purpley mix. And I'm going to paint it in the center area. And you can see I'm still focusing on the shape of how the bulb is living. I even want it a little bit more just purple. So I'll pick it up solo and place it in. Not too precious with the underpaintings because we know that they're not going to dry how we really see them anyway. Cat hair. Place that in. I'll take even more of that English Venetian red. Build it up right there. Bleed it together. Tap off and move it in the circle formation. And then we're going to our dark mix. The brown always, the sepia brown, that's one thing. I don't like love how it activates in this palette. I feel like that one I've worked through really fast, even though I don't use it that often, but that is okay. And I'm just going to place this right in between. And make sure that they all live and bleed and go together in harmony. So I'm cleaning off my brush and I'm just going to blend them together lightly. Okay. And that brown even continues on this back side here. A little bit, a little bit. To make it darker, because the shadows really come in over here, I'm going to take just the neutral tint. And it's kind of like a charcoaly color. And I'm going to start dabbing it in little like dot areas so I can let it bloom and bleed. One thing that I don't like with all my other layers, but for this one, it is necessary. It creates the illusion of that texture. So I'm creating those little pointies. So I'm liking it at this damp stage. I want to make that purpley brown cohesive in this area as well. So we're building up the second tone with that same technique. Darkening this area. Didn't clean off my brush in between because no need. Get those little guys going. And then I want to punch up that red underneath because it's already fading. So I'm going to take scarlet red and just keep building that up. And it's not as wet as I want it to be, so following that same technique that I did before where I'm just buffing it into the layer and marrying it together with just some brown. Okay, and then I'll do a quick little enhancement of the color up here. I even want it maybe slightly magenta. Like I was saying before, that magenta is not very vibrant, so it's the perfect shade for this. And just following that round pattern, and it has a little pocket of brown over here, like a shadow. Purple. And that's kind of the center salmon. I would add a little bit more details when that dries, but I'll show how I'll do the stem as well. That is going to be
Okay.
my sap green, which is already chilling dried here because I use it so often. So I'm just going to do the wet on wet, where I'll take this whole area and saturate it with water. And kind of feather it down. And then I'm just picking up the green. And I'm only going to focus it on that right side and then maneuver it over. So we'll start down here.
So one of our members would like to know if you try to complete your paintings in one sitting.
Depends on the size and the subject matter. So, sometimes yes, if I'm having a really good day, and sometimes no, especially with my newest large ones like the artichoke and the wisteria. That was over a few days.
Okay.
Um, and also because I was just enjoying it so much. So I just was really letting myself go into that like flow state as often as I could. Okay. And I'll pick up some brown into that green as well to really start defining that shadow. Okay. And I'll go to my smallest brush to pick up a really concentrated green and brown and just get it as close as I can to carve out that shape.
Emma, people want to know how long it takes you to complete a bridal bouquet painting.
Um, I usually tell brides it'll be about 2 weeks to a month, once I receive their bouquet. The longer end is for the really like detailed and floral heavy bouquets. If it like the one that I did of mine was pretty simple, and that would take a week to 2 weeks of intervals of painting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are
Um,
you showing any of your paintings at a couple of galleries in your area?
I
Are you
have currently not at this moment, but I did join a gallery when they did a floral show. So I had a sunflower painting that I was able to showcase with a bunch of other floral artists. And right there, I'm just adding a little bit of brown into this bottom and buffing. Okay. So that needs to be a little drier, but I would want this to be obviously a lot darker as I go. And the red here, if I had more time, what you'll see when I finish my final piece, I will make sure that these connect to that red, and it would look like it's growing from the actual center of that petal.
okay?
Yeah. Okay. let's see. Keep going until time's up. Sorry? So that is just building up those darker lines. Okay, Remy, you have to stop.
We've got a woman that says, I just love this. I really enjoy my garden and am inspired to try more of this style of painting.
Ooh, I love that. I don't have an outdoor space of my own, so I'm very,
Yeah.
very jealous of people who have gardens, and I'm sure yours is beautiful. I would probably get a lot of good reference photos.
Yep. She said that she said, thank you, Emma. And then another lady said, I'm inspired to paint the beautiful colored leaves.
Ooh,
She saw yours and inspired her. Yeah.
oh, how
People are very different.
exciting. I know I'm excited for all the leaves to start falling and hopefully
Oh,
can do a
yeah.
little series on that, which would be very fun.
Yep. One of our painters is saying that the idea of the varied colors and the veins and the leaves will be fun to try.
Definitely, definitely. The mixes is where I always have the most fun is how many colors you can create with,
Actually, yeah,
yeah, it's the best.
so
Okay.
pretty. And like you say, it's fun to make them where they look like they're glowing from the sun on one side,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
beautiful. You're getting so many different colors in there. It's really fun.
I love colors. I cannot stop. Honest that time. The more colors. My favorite color, since I'll let that pass, I'll tell you my favorite colors in this palette actually.
Okay.
So I'll use the the regular primary colors or whatever I need to for like the base, and then to mix most times Mountain Blue. This one here is became a quick favorite when I was doing the glow of this artichoke. And
Oh, okay.
here I used it as like the underglow surface it was on and almost looked a little like white, which was interesting. So Mountain
Okay.
Blue Indigo is one of my favorites to mix into yeah, greens, and I'll put it into sometimes some red to tint it down. Um,
Yep.
neutral tint and Payne's Gray, these two are big favorites. And then this whole row of browns I really gravitate to. So those are my babies.
Great. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. But let's see.
Well, I tell you what, I told you that I was going to ask you the question that I love
Yes.
to ask. I was going to ask you the question about have you had your aha moment during your
Yes.
painting? What was it? Tell us a little bit about you were painting and all of a sudden it all clicked. What was it?
My aha moment was this red dahlia. So
Gosh, it's gorgeous.
it was the
Oh,
first painting. So I started out doing watercolors on YouTube following loose tutorials. This is my first painting I ever did. This was
okay.
trying to find my style, and I loved this loose style. That's what I thought I was going to um, do with watercolors because I that's what I was most gravitated like towards, but it never felt authentic to me because I originally started doing paintings in oils and acrylics, or I was doing pencil portraits of celebrities and things, and
Yep.
realism has always been very near and dear to my heart. So this aha moment came with this dahlia where I didn't follow any tutorial. I just let what I learned in the past from a few different videos, I let it guide me and just created my own style, which has turned into everything where I'll do a base layer and scrub in colors. So like this where it was this whole petal was fully yellow and then I added layers of red and pinks on top. And so this I'd say was up there with the moment where I knew I found like my artistic voice. It was through this
Oh,
and I just didn't look back.
trust me, you did. That is absolutely stunning.
It's something,
And
isn't it?
yeah, that is just beautiful. And
Yeah.
it's so neat that, we strive to learn how to do watercolor. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, like you say, at some point it clicks. all
Yeah.
that knowledge, everything you've taken in, it clicks and you found your voice. That is just beautiful.
It was interesting too. I remember when I painted this one and then other ones that were realistic. I remember saying to my mom on the phone, I was like, it's interesting. This isn't the art I would hang around my house. And she was like, what are you talking about? So I wasn't even that wasn't what I thought I wanted to do because I like at the time I was hanging up like just more landscapes and things. So I didn't think I was going to be interested in botanicals.
Yep.
And that has changed. And now I can't stop looking at flowers and trees and plants. And everywhere I go, it's photos on photos on photos. So
And and all I can see is think of all the people that will end up having your paintings in their home and enjoying
yeah,
just what you're doing. It's just absolutely lovely.
it's very cool. It's an honor every time someone buys something and I get to share a piece of truly my heart with them. It feels like, oh, okay, this is what it's all about. This is something special. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, it's been an honor having you with us this
Thank
evening.
you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Everybody has really enjoyed it.
Thank
Everybody is thanking us. They're loving the dahlia.
Oh,
And
great.
yes, and just really, everybody's going amazing, you know?
Thank you.
So,
Thank
like
you. Of
I said, it's been an honor. Thank you so much, Emma, for sharing your work with us.
course.
It doesn't look like work. It's beautiful. And you can tell it's from the heart. You know what
Thank
I
you.
mean?
Yeah, it's been such a joy and thank you for asking me to do this. I'm sorry it didn't get complete, but I will definitely share the final piece with everyone because I won't be able to stop.
Absolutely. And this is exactly what we wanted to do is learn how you do it,
Great.
see how you do it, and hopefully somebody else will learn from that and be able to share what they're doing. So
I hope so.
I
If I love seeing what people do, so if you're on
absolutely
Instagram, share it, send it my way. I have my email on my website. A lot of ways to contact me, but I absolutely love seeing and talking with people. So I'm an open book.
very good. I thank you so much, Emma.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead. We will share this on our YouTube. And
Fantastic.
I hope that people will just be inspired and get out there. And if I see some of the work coming up in
Yeah,
our salon, I'll make sure that I send some of those your way so you
awesome.
can see what people are doing from
I would
what they saw tonight.
Oh,
Okay?
I would love that. Thank you for having me. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you, Emma. We really appreciate it. You
Great.
take care. We've
Okay,
really
talk to you
enjoyed our
later. Okay, bye.
Bye bye now.